All right, welcome everybody. I am Katie Bradford Osborne. I am the founder and curator of Roaring Artists Gallery, and we are here today for a really special artist talk. And I am so excited. This is a project that I've been able to watch change and grow over the past year, and I think I'm probably as excited as Kelly is today for for this artist talk. But we are here today with Kelly Marshall for her artist talk for the Personal Protective Project. And it is a show that is currently in our 3D virtual gallery space at Roaring Artist Gallery. And we are so proud, Kelly, to have this show. So thankful that you allowed us to show it. And I'm going to go ahead and read Kelly's bio, and then I'm going to hand it over to her. All right. Kelly Marshall was born and raised in San Diego, California, and now resides in Seattle, Washington. As the multidisciplinary artist, she creates a range of works centered around concepts of maternal exhaustion, invisible labor, and minor feelings in domestic spaces. She followed her BA in Applied Art and Design from San Diego State University with a career as a special education art teacher, instructing students of diverse abilities in the classroom and in her children's art studio. Marshall holds a master's degree in special education and is in the second year of her MFA program. At the Pacific Northwest College of Art and Visual Studies. Marshall's exhibition and publication history includes the Gin Tuff Galleries, Santa Fe, New Mexico, the Visionary Projects, New York, Shockbox Project, Hermosa Beach, California, Artist Mother Network juried exhibitions, Roaring Artist Gallery, that's us, Circle Arts Foundation, and the Front Art and Cultura. She has been artist in residence at the Stay Home Gallery in Paris, Tennessee, and is a founding member of the After Time Collective in Portland, Oregon. Marshall lives with her family and paints in her studio in Seattle, Washington. All right, sorry, I was trying to add everybody while I was speaking. But Kelly, I'm so excited to hear from you. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to you.
Thank you so much, Katie. I am just absolutely thrilled to be here, and it gives me so much joy to present this work, which I care so deeply about, and to also see I can see that I've got a couple of the participating physicians in the audience, and that just gives me a thrill because I have felt like these women that I've been painting have been a part of my life for the last almost year, and so it's very exciting. So I'm going to attempt to screen share, and I also have several family and friends who I really appreciate that are here too. Let's see if I can get this going. Okay. All right. I think we're good to go. So welcome to Personal Protective. Before I really get into the meat of it, I'd like to offer my thanks to my family, my immediate and extended family, especially my kiddos who have helped paint backgrounds and helped me with my data entry and so many things that have made this project work that I couldn't have done it without. My collaborators, people who have stepped up to help with this project and asked nothing in return, you know who you are. The Artist Mother podcast, which has been a lifeline for me, and this project would never have happened without I participate in their critique groups, which is where I met Katie, and who I presented this project to, and really gave me the courage and inspiration to tackle something of this magnitude. To Katie, who is just an incredible support and a wonderful human, and for the work that you do. To the physician moms group, to PMG. I mean, you're the reason we're here. The participating physicians, I cannot thank you enough for the work you do every day. And to my sister Debbie and her partner Elizabeth, and I swore I wasn't going to cry. I can't even talk about it without crying. They're amazing, and they're who helped me start this project. So again, I'm Kelly Marshall. I am a lot of things. I am an artist, a teacher, a mother. I have been an artist my entire life. and my practice centers on maternal relationships, gendered labor, and our existence in domestic spaces. To put it simply, I make art about the experiences of women, and since April 2020, I paint doctors. Oops. So I'm going to start by telling you a story. In March 2020, the world as we knew it came to a complete standstill. It was the end of time as we knew it. And like most, like a lot of people, I was really fortunate to have the privilege of being able to stop life and stay home with my family, and be safe and do the safe thing. I was, baking sourdough and making color-coded schedules for my kids, sanitizing the groceries. But while I was at my home in San Diego doing those things were looking really different for my sister Debbie and my sister-in-law Elizabeth back in New York City. You see, they're both doctors. And it's funny because they're able to do this thing that I think perhaps is a requisite skill of physicians. They are calm, they're even, they are able to compartmentalize. That's why when I got a phone call from my sister about 2 weeks into lockdown, I knew things were really not okay. I mean, of course, we knew things were not okay. We were all seeing this on the news. It was our reality was turned upside down. But for the first time, probably ever, I could hear in my sister's voice that things were not okay. The fear in her voice was palpable, and Debbie was asking for my help, and that's not something she really ever does. Debbie is a radiation oncologist, and while things were tense for her, they were nothing compared to what Elizabeth, her partner, was experiencing in the ICU at NYU Bellevue Hospital. Debbie was calling me because Elizabeth needed PPE. She needed masks. I'm really lucky that I have amazing friends, Dr. Melanie Wang, Dr. Ji Liu, Dr. Holger Monenschein, and these three friends were able to get masks for Debbie and Elizabeth. My good friend, Dr. Melanie Wang, opened up her office, filled a cardboard box full, tore open her cabinet, threw everything she had in it, and was just like, take it, just take it. And we sent it back to New York. G and Holger were able to source masks from their contacts overseas. Again, they did it without asking for anything in return. Now, while the masks kept her safe, it did not change the severity of the dire situation for the patients she was caring for. Every week, we'd anxiously await the phone call or the text from them letting us know they were okay. It was one of the most helpless feelings I've ever known. In this picture, there's my husband and son, and then there's Elizabeth sitting next to my son, Sammy, and then there's me and my sister, Debbie, in the back. That was back before time. So shortly after things began, Elizabeth started sending me, let's see, next slide. Elizabeth started sending me her selfies. I wanted to know what it looked like, what was happening for her. She described bruises on her face from the PPE, and I wanted to understand. She sent me about 7 in total during this week where she worked just countless hours, and I knew I needed to do something with them. I needed to capture this moment in both her and our history. Here are a couple of those selfies. I was really taken aback by the exhaustion in her face, specifically in her eyes. So what did I do? Well, I did what I could. It was April 2020. I wasn't leaving my house, really. I didn't have canvas. And I also didn't really consider myself a portraitist. So the only solution I could come up with was, but I knew I needed to do something. So I slapped some paper down on my table in my studio, and I decided I was going to paint them, and I painted them in grayscale. It was my urgent response to okay, well, what do I do? How can I do this right now and capture what it is that she's experiencing? So here are 6 of the 7 portraits. These are titled 95 Hours and 6 Days in reference to the time she worked during that week where she took those selfies. For anyone who isn't a math person, me, that's an almost 16-hour workday, 6 days in a row. This is what our doctors are doing every day. Elizabeth didn't share a lot of stories about her experience because it was just too hard. But she did tell me at one point about having to hold the phone up to a patient's ear for their family to say goodbye as they died alone. So here I am. I've painted these portraits. They feel almost like sketches to me due to the urgent nature in which I executed them. But I did this work and I felt like I needed to do something else. What could I do more? How could I extend it? But I'm an artist. I'm, in my suburban home and I'm not really going anywhere. What can I do? What can I do next?
Returned to there recently. She's been telling me what's been going.
So fast forward to my artist critique group through the Artist Mother podcast, where I met the amazing Katie Bradford Osborne, our host today. And this critique group, I presented this work and they too agreed, it's not done. What can you do? And Katie, through her connections, was able to help me make the connection to the Physician Moms group. And that's how we created Personal Protective, which is a living history of physician mothers and their work in the time of a global pandemic. So once we decided to start this project and enter into the collaboration, I created a portal for the doctors to submit their portraits and their reflections. I wasn't sure who was going to participate or if anyone would want to, but within the first couple of weeks, I had received almost 100 submissions. And to this day, when I look at the pictures and I read the stories that they've submitted with them, there we go. When I read their submissions and I think about what they've done and what they've sacrificed, I still get teary. It's hard for me to talk about it right now without getting emotional because of the incredible amount of sacrifice and perseverance. So at first I was going to choose, I'll pick out the ones that I thought I would paint. But as these over 90 submissions rolled in, I decided I couldn't choose. I needed to paint all of them. So to date, I've painted close to 80, and I've got the other 15 up and ready to go. And so hopefully by the end of the year, I will have them all complete.
Sit down here.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, I'm going to show you just a quick little time-lapse video of painting some of these portraits. So it's going pretty fast. So along with their photos, the physicians shared with me their reflections. So many things stood out. Firstly, the sacrifice. I was immediately struck by the circumstances that many of them were under. Like the majority of us, many of them lost their childcare. In addition, they were expected to put their jobs before anything else, including their own children, their families, and their personal well-being. It's the same one. Hold on. There we go. I'm going to show you just a few of my painting sessions. When I thought about the work they did, what struck me also was the triangulation. If you think about it, a doctor, a mother, and a woman in medicine, and what that means. I learned so much. I learned that most women physicians don't make as much as their male counterparts. I also just really was struck by how not a single one of them in their reflections said that they would do anything differently. Now we are It's been a year and a half, and these incredible women are still fighting battles in the ICU and beyond. This pandemic affects every facet in medicine in ways that I, as a layperson, really can't begin to understand. And it's really, really humbling. Right. Skip that one. Okay, hold on. There we go. So my family recently moved up to Seattle, Washington, and just before we did, I had a big empty wall in my house after all of the furniture had been removed, and I put all of the portraits I'd done up on the wall. And as I mentioned before, I felt like all of the women who participated in this project have been with me for the last almost year, and looking at them and seeing their faces, and it's been so humbling to be able to capture their likeness. And I'm struck not only by the exhaustion, but also the beauty in these incredible healers. And that's why I would really like for this project to live on. This is a living history. You know, the pandemic hasn't ended. And from what I understand, I think we will be dealing with the long-term effects of this for years to come. And I think that it's important that this work that they do every single day lives on and is seen and is given visibility, that we honor the hard work, the sacrifice, the perseverance. So a friend of mine, someone I hadn't talked to since high school, reached out to me on Facebook a few months ago. She had seen this project and was asking, you know, was it possible to participate? And as a mother of twin girls and also a pediatric ICU physician, she wanted to participate for the sake of her daughters. And right there, it immediately like went to my core. Like, this is why I have to do this work. So to every physician who's here today, and for every physician who is out there in the world who might ever see this, I thank you for everything that you do. Your work has given us hope, and it is my deepest honor to be able to document it. So I have just a couple of the portraits that I've painted in here. This is a picture of Dr. Kumar as she was delivering her baby, and she worked to educate the public during this time of political and social unrest, where doctors can't just do their jobs anymore. They are scrutinized by the public and questioned in ways that I feel like I've never experienced before, and I hope that that changes. Here's Dr. Singh, whose story of being the primary breadwinner and also on an H-1B visa with young children, again, struck me in terms of personal sacrifice and having to make impossible decisions. But again, not wanting to change a thing. Here's Dr. Hubbard, who, when she sent me her submission, she said, you know, I don't wear a mask every day. I'm a pathologist. I'm processing COVID tests. I'm processing, you know, I'm doing all of the science in front of a screen. And she said, you could, you know, if you want to put a mask on me, you can. And I thought, nope, absolutely not. We need pathologists. We need to honor the work that she has to do every day to keep the medical system going, to keep us, you know, alive and safe. Here's another personal favorite. This is Dr. Anderson, who not only is a physician, but also sits on her local school board and in a rural community in the Midwest. And what struck me about her story was how she was, not only as the only woman, you know, as she's a physician on the school board and also the only woman on the school board. And she was personally able to convince their local school board to implement a mask mandate as they kept their schools open. And what gave me so much hope was the results of the mask mandate Their school district had the lowest COVID transmission rates. They were able to stay open. They were able to keep the kids safe. And again, it's not only is she doing the work of a physician, but she is also educating the public, in which I'm so grateful. And this is Dr. Herrera Morris, who has given me permission to read her exact reflection. And she works as an addiction. Let me get it wrong. She works in addiction treatment, and that to me was very I can only imagine how hard things have been for her and her patients. And it is, I feel very lucky to be able to read this. And she wrote the resiliency, the chaos, and the heartache of healthcare workers during COVID 2020, the pivots, the unknowns, the sacrifices endured for our patients, our own families, and our health, both mentally and physically, all rooted in our Hippocratic oath. And with a nod that if we were confronted and asked to do it again, we would. The exponential number of relapses, overdoses for our patients suffering from addictions, the palpable agony and despair that percolated and continues to move on, even in the healthy and stable cohorts of our patients. Heartache as we stand witness to those emotions bulldozing through our colleagues on the front lines. The alarm that our already marginalized patients with histories of addiction and mental illness may fall farther away from treatment due to overutilization of services and limited rehab spots or intensive outpatient programs. The inequities seen for access to services and the paradigm shift quickly executed so that we may serve our most vulnerable populations. Lastly, hope, innovation, and unification. None of the lengths of which I have ever witnessed in my 14 years of practicing medicine. Hope always present, hope always there. An anchor present, letting us know that this too shall pass. Dr. Herrera Morris, thank you for letting me share your words. And now I know that we have several of our participating physicians on this call. You have no obligation to share, but it would be an honor if you would consider introducing yourself and telling us your specialty or where you work. And if you'd like to share any reflections, maybe even if it's just one moment during this that has been something that you think has stood with you, I would really appreciate it. But again, absolutely no pressure to do so. I just thank you for being here.
If anyone would like to jump on, feel free to just go ahead and unmute yourself and go for it.
I'm gonna go ahead and read something from the chat from Dr. Mittal that says, "Thank you so much for chronicling this incredible time of sacrifice for many women physicians." Dr. Mittal's at work right now. Thank you for coming. Thank you for your work. And if I recall correctly, I've read all of your reflections so many times, but when I think about your story, having been in New York, that you also worked during the AIDS crisis in New York. I think I'm right there, correct? No, okay, sorry. I've had so many.
I started in 1998 in New York City, but I was here for 9/11, anthrax, Hurricane Sandy.
That's right.
And COVID, and it's really, I luckily did not lose my health during the pandemic, which allowed me to really stay here and work. And as you know, in New York, we experienced a surge that we've never really experienced before. But the camaraderie and the teamwork, and it felt like intern year all over again with really all physicians in the hospital being redeployed to the emergency department. It was really incredible. and the teamwork was amazing. And the only other time I saw that was 9/11, where everybody came down and assisted, even though the outcomes weren't great. We at least had the camaraderie and teamwork of our colleagues, both men and women. And so, you know, and with the community and the family support that we experienced at home, it was enough for me to feel comfortable being away. We also were able to create a huge peer support. I run the wellness program here at NYP Cornell for the emergency department. And we were able to create a group peer support because many of us felt like we didn't want to share our fears with family and wanted them to enjoy their time at home and together. And we wanted to not, you know, have them go through that same stress. And I literally slept in our master bedroom closet for 2 months, just showering, changing clothes and eating and going straight up to the closet. But I felt better at home. And, you know, just it was nice for us to share with our colleagues some of our fears and things that we didn't want to share with our family. So it was, you know, thankfully we made it through. I'm not sure how, but we made it to this day. And we have a much better handle on things and much better prepared, but we were woefully unprepared at the time. But we're here to live and tell the story, but I thank you for chronicling that. It's really nice of you, and I look forward to seeing your work.
Thank you so much for your
You're
willingness
welcome.
to share with us. And I'm sorry I put you on the spot.
It's okay. I knew I'd have to sign off anyways, but thank you guys, and I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. I see we have Dr. Gidwani, Dr. Tang, and Dr. Ponteri here, and Dr. Taras, my sister-in-law. And I just want to thank you. Thank you for coming. And thank you for participating in this project.
Thank you for all your work. I'm so excited to see the finished product. Looks amazing. Thank you.
If anyone else would like to share, you can, but again, you have absolutely no pressure to. I know that Katie has set up a really fun way to view the work, which is the virtual tour in the gallery. And if you'd like to, you know, you're welcome to hop off at any point, but I think we're going to do that in a minute. Does anyone have any questions about the project?
Well, Kelly, before we move forward, I just wanted to say this is such an amazing project, and I didn't make it through with dry eyes either. But I just want to say how I'm not even sure what words I want to use here. How proud I am to be able to watch you do what you've been doing, and to be able to see the outcome. And I can't even express how proud I am that our gallery has been able to show this show. It's I've never had a show that when I was putting it together, I was like crying the entire time looking into the eyes of these physicians. And somewhat this is personal for me. My husband is a pediatric ICU physician. It's obviously not something I talk about very often in my artistic life, just because that's sort of his thing and I have mine. But on behalf of the families of these physicians, and I know how touched the female physicians that I personally know have been by this project, even if they weren't a part of it. It's such important work you're doing, and I just want to thank you for it.
I agree wholeheartedly. Thank you to all of these physicians who are for the work you do every day. And thank you, Katie, for this. I mean, really, like, I never, like, personally never would have had the courage to execute a project of this magnitude. And it's like, and something that has so much potential. It's so humbling to do it. And it's been, for me at least, a way of coping with such an, like, really unthinkable, scary time. With my family, my own situation with, having a child that has some medical issues that has made COVID really scary, worrying about my sisters. And then it's just been a way for me to really channel it and feel like I'm doing something, because as someone who's not a doctor, it feels really helpless. And I imagine for the physicians, it also probably at times does too. But it truly has been an honor to have these stories, have this work to do during this time.
I'd like to read what Amy Ponteri wrote in the chat. I think it's really great. This is beautiful, meaningful work that really shows the everyday tensions and decisions that have to be made by mothers, women, humans who are healthcare providers. I really like the use of space in your portraits. It speaks to the isolation. Even though folks are working side by side, which is such a gift, it is isolating work. I think that's a really beautiful reflection.
Thank you, Amy. I really appreciate that. And Amy's one of our participating physicians, so that means a lot.
If no one else has any questions or reflections, do we want to take a quick little tour through? Now, the show will be in our 3D virtual space through October 31st, 2021. After that point, I'll make a little video running through it and just set it to music, and that'll be on our YouTube. So you'll be able to continue to revisit this project afterwards. I will make sure it needs to live in continuity. So, all right. So you can share screen whenever you want to.
So, sorry, give me a second. Submission. Share screen. Okay, here we go. I love the way this just sort of walks you through it. And something, a funny little story. So one of the things that I've learned, one of the many things I've learned about a project like this is that it really pays to be organized, which is something that I wasn't at the beginning. And you really have to have a plan, or else you accidentally end up painting, losing track of who you painted. And yeah, so I think three of the physicians are going to be receiving 2 portraits because I accidentally painted multiples. But hey, you know what? it's good practice, and it's also fun to see the different likenesses. So it has not been a bad thing. It's just taught me organization. And I have a very good friend who's on the call today who came in, and her name is Gabi, and she's here from San Diego. She came in and helped me sort through my portraits, make sure everything was organized, and that I couldn't have done it, couldn't have done this without her. So yeah, I'm grateful that she was able to help me get organized. So when I originally, again, as I originally started the project, I thought, okay, no, I'm only going to do portraits from the shoulders up, and I'm going to try and get, really focus on the eyes. And I did that with probably 90% of them. But there were a couple, like one we saw just a minute ago of Dr. Cochran Ward, right before, I think it was a picture the day before she delivered her baby. And when I saw that picture of her, or then when I saw a picture of Dr. Tang in her complete head to toe PPE, I really wanted to kind of deviate and make sure I was capturing what felt like the real essence of their experience. So that's why you'll see a few of them. I made those choices, those artistic choices, to go ahead and paint the whole figure. I love this one. I just love it. I cannot imagine. That was Dr. Zhang Nunez, who had, it almost looks like a snorkel mask. Like it just, wow. Having to don that much equipment in order to stay safe. It's very humbling. The plan with the project going forward is we're going to self-publish a book, and where we take all of the reflections and the portraits and use that as a way to document what this project is. And in addition to that, I'm going to hopefully have an ongoing submission portal where physicians can go on and upload either their reflections written or audio files of their reflections. And we can just keep this as a living archive of the work that's being done. I think that is a really great way to not only not forget the sacrifices, but make sure that the doctors and their work continues to be just acknowledged. Back in December of 2020, when I started receiving the submissions, things felt really hopeless. But as we've moved forward, I'm started, it feels, it's just seeing the resilience and hearing from these women. I feel a sense of hope. That's our good family friend, Dr. Liu, that we just passed. And she's one of the friends who was able to help us procure some PPE early on in the pandemic. This particular portrait really, that one was hard to paint, not only to execute from an artistic perspective, but also from just, you could just feel the fear, not the fear, but the exhaustion and the pain. Another thing that struck me were, just to echo what Dr. Goodwani shared, is that how many of these doctors had to be not separated, but isolated from their own children, and how difficult that must have been for them. Sleeping in garages, closets, it just, not only is the work more, and I imagine the work, so intense, but also just having that separation from your family, truly can't imagine. Painting hair is challenging. I'm glad it's a skill that I have now, but some of them were a little more intimidating than others. And also painting the tissue thin, there we go. That tissue thin PPE that they had to wear was something I really had to learn how to do effectively. I think that's something that, another thing that I think probably, us lay people take for granted is, how much effort is involved in protecting themselves, how much time it takes to make sure that they are physically protected, and the toll that takes on the physicians to have to wear all of this equipment. And then also to have almost a barrier between you and your patients, that intimacy that you can develop where, with just by being able to see someone's face. It's very humbling. I think that's not something many of us probably have ever had to do. And then to think that some people don't want to wear a mask in public, and yet you're being asked to wear so much on you to keep your patients and yourselves and your family safe. And I think that's it. I think we've made it through.
I wanted to share that I was able to see Kelly's exhibit in Portland, which was pretty amazing to see. And I think it is such an important project she is doing here to honor these women that really put their lives on the line to save everybody else, and to actually put a face to them. Because, I mean, we all hear about the crisis and the doctors and how difficult it is for them, but unless you know somebody personally, you really can't imagine. And I feel those portraits really help to put a face to it, and maybe by reading to what those women said, to get an understanding how much of a strain it was to their own personal life.
I agree. And thank you for helping me with this project, Gabby.
It was my honor. I'm a little distracted here because I have a little baby that I had to watch unexpectedly. So, but
It's okay. We have, it's, more company. Just saw my sister-in-law Elizabeth hopped on, and it's again this project. I wouldn't have done this project without her.
Hi, everyone. I'm Elizabeth. I just wanted to say that this is so amazing, and I'm not a parent, so I can't even imagine how most of the people who Kelly painted really felt through this process. But I think being a physician can sometimes feel so invisible, and doing this work for the past couple of years now has in some ways been really isolating, and it's so important to have all of this immortalized. And I think this is a living document that I think will be important for generations to come. So I'm so grateful that you took the time, Kelly, to do this and to really put your soul into doing this.
Thank you.
I just wanted to thank you likewise for preserving this special time, difficult time in history. As a woman physician and as a mother, there's so many things to balance all the time, and there's been so much learning and also so much fear. And so really just appreciate being part of this, and such an honor, knowing that there's so many physicians and so many staff members and so many people within the medical ecosystem who are working so hard to help take care of patients. And it's just, I'm just really grateful and humbled to be part of this. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for participating, and thank you for sharing. And thank you for everyone for coming today, and for all of the love and support that you've all given. Again, I wouldn't have done this project if I didn't have such a strong support system.
Well, I'm so thankful that you did. I'm so thankful you've done this project, and I'm so thankful that we got to show it in the gallery. I can't even express how much. Well, if we don't have any more questions or remarks, this has been a really special time. Thank you all so much for joining us. And thank you all so much for your reflections, being part of this amazing project, to everyone who's joined us, and also to those who were part of this project and unable to join us, and everyone who's been supporting Kelly through this amazing project. It's really important, and I'm so proud that you've done it. It's great. All right, well, I will go ahead. We're almost to time, so I'll go ahead and sign off here if we don't have anything else. Kelly, do you have anything else that you wanted to share?
Well, for anyone who hasn't taken a look at Katie's gallery, it's a really special place, and it is only fitting that this work is shown there because of the work that you do to support women artists, and give opportunities to people. So thank you for the work that you do. And it's just, this has been really great. So yeah, very humbled to be here. So thank you for everything.
Thank you. Well, I'm going to sign off before I burst into tears. But thank you all again. Thank you to everyone who's been supporting us. Thank you for everyone who supports our gallery, and also for thank you to everyone who's supporting this project. see a link to our gallery. Our gallery is at roaringartistgallery.com. So I'll put it in the chat as well real quick.
And there's some really great art. I mean, this project is there, but there's also, for anyone who's an art lover, there's some really, really great art.
I'm very proud of what we've been able to do with the gallery. And this show is exactly the kind of reason that I started this gallery. So it's perfect that it is, to me, that it's there. So, all right, well, we'll go ahead and sign off, but thank you all. Thank you to everyone who will be watching this in the future. If you're watching it before October 31st, 2021, go to roaringartistgallery.com and you can see the show in a 3D space. If not, then I will have a YouTube tour up very soon after the show closes as well. But thank you all again. Once again, this is Katie Bradford Osborne from Roaring Artist Gallery, and I'll see you all next time. All right.